The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Reynardo knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong, but he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lupino needed rescuing. Of course, Reynardo had a pretty strong suspicion that Lupino had betrayed the rebellion, and he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that to his advantage. Reynardo finally realized that Lupino was a traitor to the cause, and maybe Reynardo could use that somehow. Ah, Lupino. Apparently, the Mad Rabbit had sold a Pegasus that he did not exactly own. Lupino always wiggled out of trouble, given time. But he was out of time. Lupino's frantic message said that the Ravens were going to kill him for being a rebel spy. And that he had a clever plan. If the fleet reached him first, they'd string him up for that. Never mind the winged horse. Or so Lupino had told him over the far speaker anyway. Lupino had apparently managed to confuse the judge by arguing that he hadn't actually stolen a winged horse. He'd only sold it. But wait, where was the prison? The village was empty. Had everybody fled the Ravens?
Come on. One fox, no waiting.
That was odd. Reynardo had been here, at this exact place, at this exact time. But this time, there were so many more ravens. Ravens were landing everywhere. The advance guard. He'd better get moving. If they got to Lupino first, they'd eat him for breakfast. Or a snack. Ravens weren't picky. If they got hungry, they sometimes forgot to interrogate their prisoners. Even top spies like Lupino. Well, unless he really was a traitor, obviously. Then they'd probably pin a medal on his chest. Dirty and bloody, Reynardo finally reached Lupino. The rabbit was practicing his shuffle. Reynardo recognized the cards. It was Lupino's favorite deck. Oh, I thought you were in danger. I am. The Ravens are coming. Oh, the prison thing. Right, yeah, see, this guard owed me 53 ducats, so we made a deal. They're very reasonable people, actually, for weasels. Now, I got a brilliant plan to kidnap Zenobia. We capture Zenobia, we find out what she knows, and that's the whole war right there.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Capture the Emperor's greatest general, who happened to also be a deadly sorcerer, and, oh, his only daughter? That would be worth it. And it would be nice to see her. He'd always had a soft spot for her. And, he felt sure, she had one for him.
On the other hand, he could still get to the core of the Sky Ripper, even if he couldn't get the whole thing. It must have great power. Zenobia wasn't just the Emperor's daughter, of course. She'd been Reynardo's best friend in Sword Fu school. And you're still mad for her, the rabbit reminded him.
The rabbit had a point, and Reynardo had a feeling she'd want to see him again. Who knows what could happen between the two of them this time around?
She knows all his plans, chuckled the master spy. She won't give them up easily.
She'll tell the interrogators, all right, said Lapino.
Taking her would change the game, all right.
The city was already under Zenobia's control. I had to admire her efficiency. Reynardo shivered at the thought of Zenobia at the mercy of the interrogators. Would he really turn her over to them? But this was war. It wasn't meant to be pretty. The city was burning, and there was no one to put out the fires. If somehow Zenobia survived her father and inherited his crown, what sort of empire would she be heir to? But he couldn't think about that, could he? Why was Lapino urging him to capture Zenobia? Obviously it was a trap. But you never knew how Lapino thought. Sometimes his plans were so convoluted they did the exact opposite to what Lapino wanted. Yeah, there must be some way to play on that, Reynardo thought.
Reynardo had been the terror of the sandcastles when he was 2. So, what's this plan of yours?
Use me as bait,
Said Lapino, and he outlined a slightly complicated plan that involved geese, a net, setting the Farfarer a little bit on fire, Lapino dressing as an old blind toad, and Reynardo hiding inside a monstrous watermelon.
What could possibly go wrong? Thought Reynardo. Oh, this is gonna be fun, said Lapino, as he ran to go set up his marvelous plan.
You guys ever eat fresh food? You don't smell like it.
Reynardo felt dubious about the whole plan. With every step, he was waiting for it all to go horribly wrong. But against all odds, Lapino's idiotic plan worked. Zenobia's ravens ran off after the geese, the net dropped, and Reynardo jumped out of the watermelon and put his sword to Zenobia's throat.
Reynardo, she said, are those new scars? They look good on you. You never returned my velvet jacket. It was my favorite. You look stupid in velvet. Ah, what does an imperial princess know about style?
Ah, get a room, you two, said Lupino, probably sensing the chemistry.
But the fleet was coming on fast, so they took Zenobia east, over the Nexus. She'd vanished from Swordfu School, from his life, without even saying goodbye. Without ever telling him she was the Emperor's adopted daughter.
Reynardo was aware of her feelings. Maybe this was a bad idea, but was he letting his own feelings get the better of him?
Ah, Lupino was right, Reynardo thought reluctantly. She knows things. She recognized his look. You're taking me to the interrogators, aren't you? She said, wide-eyed. And then she jumped, with horror. Reynardo saw Zenobia plummeting. Then he saw the Nexus below them. Cats always land on their feet. Ah, she'll head for the Imperial outpost, yelled Lupino. You have to catch her. Cats can run faster, but foxes can run longer. If he ran, he could head her off before she reached her minions at the outpost. Well, he did love a good chase.
Whee! The Raven One talking to her son. Don't write. Don't call. Get it? Call? I just made that up.
He was closing on her. He could smell her fear. He tried not to think about the interrogators at the secret base. What did they do to her? Maybe it didn't have to end that way. Maybe he could talk to her. But, after all, there were worse things the Imperials had done to friends of his. Reynardo reached the outpost. The Imperials there were no match for him. Soon after, Zenobia limped up the path. When she realized he was already in front of her, she didn't even try to run. Oh, you left without saying goodbye. Again, he said, please. I'm enjoying this a little too much. She said, shaken. Oh, spare us the chit-chat, would you? Said Lupino as he shackled her hands so she couldn't throw spells. She knows all his plans. All the way back to the Fábula era, Lupino nagged Reynardo about how the interrogators would pry all the intel out of Zenobia. How that would turn the tides in the imminent battle. All they had to do was take her to the rebel secret base. Reynardo didn't like to think about what the interrogators would do to her. Couldn't he just talk to her?
they pulled away from the Nexus, Reynardo could see the fear in Zenobia's eyes. I can't take her to those creatures at the base, he whispered to Lupino. Ah, you've gone soft. Soft in the head. We captured her for what she knows. I'll take her to the mountains. Tell all the horrible things the Emperor's done. Yeah, believe me, she'll turn. And he turned the wheel. The hell you will, shouted Lupino, and he grabbed the wheel back from him. The two of them wrestled for control of the ship. It shot off like a mad sparrow. Suddenly, Reynardo was falling. When he came to, Zenobia was standing over him. Why didn't you take me to the base to be interrogated? She demanded. Do you know what's left of people they interrogate? This is some trick, isn't it? To make me fall for you again. Well, I won't. Oh, go on then. Scurry back to your ravens. I can't stop you. But strangely, she didn't. As Reynardo set off to find the Farfarer, she followed him, keeping just out of sight of the ravens. Just trying to teach you how to fly. As Reynardo stopped to sniff the wind, Zenobia came up, still mad. Did you really think you'd just talk me into betraying my father? Oh yeah, sure, that was exactly my plan. Then why aren't you even talking to me? Because I've never talked you into anything in my life. They're gonna court-martial you for letting me go. He caught a whiff of the Farfarer. Wet rope, tar, and a cask of Scobel ale he'd spilt last year. It was that way. Any better dead, Reynardo thought. Reynardo wondered if he should have taken Zenobia to the rebel base for real.
Maybe she wasn't playing him after all. After the bleak talk about the Emperor's dark secrets, he was regretting his suspicion.
Sure enough, the Farfarer had crashed in some rocks. There was no sign of Lupino. Zenobia caught up. All that kid stuff in Swordfu School. Look, that's the past. We're adults now. We have duties to other people. We have destinies. What are you talking about? And you are the most arrogant, slow-witted, light-fingered, mercenary, immoral, reckless. Run away with me, said Reynardo, and he realized he meant it. What? Just like that? She demanded. I will, if you will. So she kissed him. And it was the best kiss he'd ever had.
They held hands as they boarded the Farfarer.
Reynardo felt light-hearted, like the winds that were playing the rigging like a balalaika. But Lupino, I need to get back to Lupino, he said, suddenly realizing he could have been captured. A prisoner.
He's not.
How'd you know? He saw something in her eyes he didn't understand. He fell, didn't he? Into the abyss.
She looked away, wouldn't answer.
But then a bolt smashed through the Farfarer's keel. The broken ship plummeted out of the clouds.
Reynardo picked himself off the deck. They were alive.
We have to get to my private ship, she said. Do you trust me? I guess I must, he said. You go on ahead. Clear the path, she said. I can't kill my own soldiers.
He wanted to say that he didn't trust her, that he had no idea what he was getting into. But he had no choice, did he? He was following his heart. That's what it means to be a hero. You had to follow your heart. Ooh, the portal led right into the middle of the fleet. It was a glaring weakness in the defense. Bard when you needed one.
Catch their breath. It was strange to be so close to her. What are you thinking? He asked. I'm trying very hard not to think. Me too, he said. Up ahead, he could see the thin silver of Zenobia's personal ship. It looked fast. They would leave all this behind. As they reached her ship, Reynardo suddenly felt a sharp pain in his stomach. He was surprised to see a crossbow bolt sticking out of it.
I was going to lead the Empire to our secret base, said Lapino. But no, you had to screw up my plan because you've still got a thing for her.
Reynardo stared at Zenobia. The kiss. Was it real? She said, with a look of indescribable sorrow. She gestured and said an arcane word, and Lapino went flying into the abyss, screaming, "I'm telling your father!" Then she knelt down to cradle his head, and her paws felt very soft and warm.